Hey guys, it's Christopher Coach. I hope you guys are all well. On this call today, we are going to be interviewing Christopher, who's come from Nigeria. He's come from a completely different background, come as a manager, working for an e-commerce company, and he managed to secure a business analyst role. Now, we're going to get him on in the next 15 minutes or so, but I want to tell you a bit about this call, what else we are going to cover, and how we're going to go about it. Now, there's a lot to cover. There's a hell of a lot to cover, and I'm super excited. And in this workshop, I want to specifically go through like how to go about becoming a business analyst or a project manager, even if you don't have the relevant experience and without spending thousands of pounds going back to university. And we'll be sharing proven strategies on this call, which you can take away with you and implement straight away and get insane results. Now, I invited Christopher. He'll be joining us in about 15 minutes or so. But before I continue, I want to know who else is on this call, right? So I'm going to start off with doing a quick poll. I want to know who's an existing student on this call right now and who's thinking about joining. So I've just launched a poll now. You should be able to vote. So have a quick vote on that. I'd love to know who's on the call. I want to make sure that you guys can make the utmost out of this call, even if it's one thing that you took out of this call, and that should hopefully ignite that fire in you guys and everything. Okay, almost 50-50 split. Okay, that's really good to know. Okay, perfect. Okay, I'm going to ask another question, right? Which area of business support are you interested in? So there's 4 options, whether it's business analysis, project management, data BI analysis, or whether it's something else. I'll just launch that onto the screen now. You should be able to vote on that. This is really, really good to know, just to make sure that I can tailor this content to the best as possible. Okay. We've got majority vote right now on business analysis, about 20% on data BI analysis, and the rest for BA. Okay. Next question I want to ask is, just so I can make sure you do get most out of this call, so I can tailor the questions accordingly. Which area of the recruitment process do you struggle with the most? Is it CVs? Is it getting interviews? Is it conducting presentations? Or is it the actual interviews itself? So just launch that as a poll right now. Perfect. Okay. Okay, so the bulk vote right now is CVs by far. Okay, CVs, getting interviews, conducting presentations, the interview itself. Okay. You've got a mixed thought, but finding more people are struggling with CVs more than anything. Okay. Okay, guys, last Thursday I did do a presentation on CVs, specifically on CVs. So if you're in the career switching community, you'll be able to see a live that I did last week on Thursday, which breaks down CVs in a lot of detail, like full anatomy of a CV, how to go by it, what makes the perfect CV, and pointing all towards the 6-figure CV template. And I even go through in the presentation, if you're looking to switch from one role to another, what are some of the key tasks from, like, whether you're processing payments or whether you're, lifting groceries, whatever it is, how to translate that into business analysis terms. And I go through all that in that presentation. So definitely have a look at that. Okay, Greg Lewis-Smith, I found CVs the difficult part. However, I watched the CV live from last Thursday with the 6-figure template, and now I feel so confident with my CV. I recommend to anyone else on the call. 100%. That's been really good. Thanks for that, Greg. Yeah, 100%. I would completely agree. Definitely do that. Check that previous one out. Okay, I know that I got a good grasp of that. Just want to ask one last question. If anybody's on the fence currently of joining the business analysis program, I would love to know, like, what's your general thought process like at the minute? What's holding you back from joining at the moment? So I've just launched this final poll. I'd love to know a bit more about, for those that are thinking about joining, what's currently holding you back right now? Sounds too good to be true. Not sure how it works. Too expensive. Okay. So sounds too good to be true. Okay, you guys will see that for yourself. When you head on over to transformlearningacademy.com/reviews, you'll see like how the guys that we've had have literally jumped from going from 20K jobs like 60, 70, 100K plus. It does sound too good for real. I completely get it. But the market's changed, the market's evolved, and the opportunities available now, they weren't available a few years ago. Like since the dot-com bubble, since this whole thing to do with the internet, it's just changed the entire game upside down. You don't have to go to the library and search for information. You got everything at your fingertips. So how can you best use the information that you have, like combination of information, to get to the place that you want to get? That's literally the formula. But I'll break that down for you guys in more detail. Someone saying not sure how it works. If not already, definitely book in a call to speak to our team. Head on over to transformlearningacademy.com. Speak to our career coach team. They will break it down exactly how it works, step by step by step. And those are finding that it's too expensive. Look, it ultimately comes down to what you value more, whether it's the price, the results. Because these results that we get, it's not like going from 20K to 25K. They're not the results we talk about. The results we talk about is going from like 20K to like 60K plus, 80K plus, 90K plus, 100K plus. Like the highest price probably is like from £190 per day contract to £900 per day. It's higher SNAS, that's one of them. We've got others who've jumped from like 29K to 100K plus on the second role. Some who have gone from 45K jobs to like £550 per day contracts. And then we also get those that they secure their first job and it's a 35, 40K job. So there's a mixed bunch. For the average student of ours, currently they're earning £65,000 a year. That's what the average TLA student does. So it works, but I will show you guys very shortly. Okay, no, I really appreciate you guys answering those questions of mine. Now, one thing I want to go through is more so to do with the mindset on how to go about securing these high-end jobs, which is 80K plus, because there is a mindset to it. It's not something that you can just wing. It takes time, it takes precision, but it's got to be done in the right process. Like, so I'll talk you through that. But what is the mindset of getting to those high-end jobs? Because if you feel like you're not worth 20,000, if you don't feel like you're worth £80,000, then you're not going to aspire to get to those roles. If you feel like you're only worth £20,000, then there's clearly a blocker for you to apply to those 80K jobs. It's a big blocker. So I want to go through that. For those of you guys that don't know me, don't know my background, guys, I literally went from a 15K job working in a collections company at age 21 to earning £150,000 a year by the age of 25. And guys, I promise you that did not happen by a fluke. There was precision in that. Now, there was a first business that I had prior to being in the academy. My first business, this was going back when I was about 21, 22 years old. And my first business selling chocolate peanut butter, which failed, unfortunately, as much as that hurts. I used to sell chocolate peanut butter. But the lessons I've learned from that, they've helped me to get to the stage I'm at now, running a multi-million-pound business, which is insane. It's a complete turnaround, U-turn. I'm 32 now, so those of you guys that are wondering my age right now, I'm 32 now. what I'm trying to get to is that it can happen where you can fast track, and it doesn't have to take you 20 odd years for that fast track to happen. I want to share like 4 very simple lessons that I've learned from when I was selling chocolate peanut butter. I used to be at the point where I was selling chocolate and peanut butter. I would literally go door to door, knocking around on all these shops, and I'd give samples to shopkeepers to try my product out. I had chocolate peanut butter, I'd have like a little briefcase on it, with me carrying around some spoons, and I would physically go and I would get them to try my product out, because I knew if they just tasted it, they would more than likely want to buy it. But what I learned from that was that you have to give before you can take. If you're looking to get that job, or if you're looking to get that promotion, you have to prove yourself first that you are worthy and you can do that. So if you're looking to get a job, you can do that by showing a sample of your work up front. Right? That's like the TLA secret sauce, right? And you have to show a sample of your work up front. And by doing that, you're giving them the confidence that you know what the hell you're talking about. Now, if you're trying to go for that promotion, so say, for example, you're in a 30, 40K role and you're trying to go for like 60K role within the existing company, you're trying to go for that promotion, then you need to go over and beyond, doing more than your job description states to show your loyalty. And once you show that loyalty, they will give you more responsibility. Like, you can try to take that responsibility for yourself. That's going to be fine. You can do that within your current existing job. You can try to do more. That's a given. You have to do that because you're trying to prove yourself, trying to show that you're loyal. Once you've done that, the other perks will come a few months down the line when you ask. So do that, and then when you ask for that promotion, you will get that salary increase and a high-paying job. But you have to prove yourself first. Don't just get your CV and start applying for a job, internal job. Don't do that. Like, you work the system properly. Like, give before you take. That is a key lesson that has like done wonders for me in my entire career, from everything I do, from doing these workshops all the way to writing a book, to just sharing knowledge, constantly sharing knowledge, because you're constantly showing tastes of your work up front. That is the best way by far. Lesson number 2 that I want to go through is the second lesson I want to go through is the difference between a 30K job and an 80K job. Now, going back to when I was selling peanut butter, right? The pitch I did to a small shopkeeper in comparison to doing it for like Tesco, it was the exact same pitch. The pitch didn't change. It was the same pitch, but one would have given me nationwide distribution and the other would have only allowed me to sell in a local shop. Right? But the pitch was the same, the work was the same. I didn't do anything else. I didn't do anything that was different. Right? So what's the difference between a 30K job and an 80K job? Nothing. Right? You don't get more responsibility. Maybe the role or the company itself is a bigger company. They have a much larger customer base and the impact of your work is probably greater in the 80K job, but the responsibilities don't change. They're generally the same. So the only blocker is the scale that you want to operate at. That's the blocker. The blocker isn't like someone saying, oh, you're not worth 80K. That's not the blocker. The blocker is you. Right? You're not on 80K right now or 100K plus. It's on you. Like, you're the blocker. You can go to those roles. The responsibilities don't shift that much. It's more to do with you just feeling that you're worth it more than anything and going for those roles, going for those high-end roles. And when you apply and strive for those roles, you'll be shocked. Right? And that is it. That's why I was jumping from 20, 30K jobs to 70, 80K jobs. They're going at a much faster pace. Lesson number 3 that I want to go through is focus. Right? So stop trying to do 100 things at once. Now, I used to focus on 100 things at once, but the best way is when you only focus on one thing at a time. And if you grasp and master and infuse and doing the job to a higher standard, you're going to get the pay that you're looking for. Then focus on investing in other things. That naturally would make more sense. When you're doing like 100 things at once right now, so you're investing in crypto, you're doing a better this, better that, then you got side business doing ECom, and then you're trying to apply for these roles as well. Like you're hustling. But the minute you take all these distractions away and you only focus on one thing, which is your core work first, get that to a point where you're earning big money, earning good money, got enough cash flow coming in. And then when you start focusing on the other areas, then those will grow too. Then there's more to feed in all these other areas, all these other pots. When your first thing isn't right and you're dabbling, you're wasting time because your first thing isn't even stable. That's not working, but you're there trying to find an escape. It makes no sense. Get that first one beyond like 60, 70K, 80K, like get that enough cash flows coming in. And then when you start investing in different pots with properties, wherever it is, you got more to feed and it's just faster growth and better growth. But your initial focus, just like focus on really going to one. I used to do these 100 things at once, man. And that was probably why I failed. I learned from that. If you focus on the things that you're good at and things you enjoy, you're 10 times more likely to fight for it and be up late at night than if you do something that you don't like and you get bored and so forth. So focus on the things that you like doing, money-making activities, and go towards that. So if you're in a specific job and you're sick and tired of being in an admin role and you want to become a business analyst, wherever it is, you want to go towards more high-end jobs, focus all in on that. Make that happen first before you start focusing on other things. Okay, lesson number 4 that I want to go through is positioning. This is the final lesson I'm going to go through. Then after this, I'll get Christopher up. Now, when you're trying to climb, so as you're trying to get to the next role, whether it's a progressive role from where you're currently at, or whether it's the case that you're applying for these jobs, when you're trying to climb, position yourself, always do it in a way where you're not trying to aspire to be. Don't ever position yourself where you're trying to aspire to be like that person. So for example, on your CV, if you're not a business analyst, you've got 0 business analyst experience, the worst thing you can do is just like say like currently studying for business analysis, but then all your previous experience is also with administration and everything else. That's the worst thing you can do. You're never going to get hired. I promise you that. I guarantee that you will not get hired. If you do that, you are not getting hired. Always act and become like that person first, and then you will become that person. So it's no different. So it's no different to the movie Catch Me If You Can. Just comment yes if you've seen Catch Me If You Can in the chat section. Hi Jojo, thanks for that. I just read your message now. Guys, can you guys hear me okay? Just comment yes if you guys can. Okay, perfect. Yes, Leo. Yes. Oh, perfect. Okay, that's really good to know. Okay, so Catch Me If You Can is great. Is it called recorded? Yes, it's recorded, and I will post it on all the platforms as well, so you'll be able to see the recording to this call later as well. Okay, so the thing with Catch Me If You Can, right? He did something very, very beautiful in there. Like he would study a day beforehand before he'd go in there, but he would always act and like he'd position himself as an authority figure wherever he went. So the key was that be it and you will become it. And it's no different. Like you have to have that confidence within yourself to be that person first. And when you be that person, then you will become that person. If you're always trying to go and show that you're aspiring to be someone, you will never get there. Like because you're still in the stage where you're aspiring to be. You're still trying to get there, but you're not there. But make yourself or position yourself where you're there already, and you will become that person. It's 10 times more effective than you trying to aspire to be. Not 10 times, 1,000,000 times more effective than when you're trying to position yourself as if you're just trying to climb. Just comment, guys, just comment in the chat section, yes, if you found these 4 lessons useful. Just comment yes in the chat section if you found it useful. Really appreciate feedback on it. Perfect. Okay, that's really good to know. Really good to know. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Awesome. Okay. Next up, I'm going to get Christopher to join us, and he's going to go through his previous experience, how all the hurdles that he's faced in the process. And he's been in the position now for a couple of months, so he managed to secure the job pretty fast from when he joined us. So you can pick his brain. I'll ask him a series of questions about how he managed to secure the job, all the way to the fact that, now that he's been in the job, how's he finding the role? Is he able to maintain, so forth? And any questions that you guys have, save them towards the end of the call. And then if you just click the Q&A section and just ask in there, not in the chat section because there's 2 places too much, just ask in the Q&A section on this call, and then we'll chat them out, and then we'll answer any questions that you guys have. Okay, so Christopher, let's get you on. Bear with me a second, guys. Christopher, my man, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can. Hello. Hi, Shaz. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad.
First off, massive congratulations. You are officially a career hacker. How does it feel?
Thanks.
Massively, what you did has been absolutely insane. It's been pretty amazing. So, Christopher, tell us a bit about you. Tell us a bit about your background.
How did I get here? So, okay, so basically, I lived in Nigeria. Although I schooled here in the UK, so I had a degree in computer science and a master's in business systems, but I never really practiced it. So once I was done on my degree, I moved back to Nigeria, where I was working on different businesses. And during those businesses, I was involved with a lot of sort of e-commerce projects, even if it wasn't officially as a BA. But from what I realized when I joined the training was I realized that most of the skills were transferable. And that's the most important thing, really. You don't really need to be a BA to have been a BA, basically. So, yeah.
What was the problem that you had prior to joining us at PLA?
So basically, when I moved to the UK, that was last year in May. So I was actually going towards the data analyst because that's more buzzing, I guess, back like in Nigeria. So, well, I spoke to a friend who was a business analyst, who were now masters together. So he advised me to go into business analysis because of the demand for it. So what I did was he sort of gave me a roadmap as to how I should go about it. But the most important thing is, I guess, obsessing about it, because just like Shaz said, you have to obsess about it. You have to be it before you become it, basically. You have to see it, you have to imagine it, you have to dream it, all the time. You have to keep thinking about it. I'm a BA. And so basically I did a training before TLA, but I heard from a friend who did TLA and he had like 2 offers. And, I just applied, I spoke to Ray and, and I just joined the TLA because obviously it just seemed more organized and, it touched everything. And, you had the practical training, you had the certificate, and you had the work experience, and most training don't have the entire package. So it was just the right package, even if it might be more expensive, but I guess it's worth the money. So yeah, basically.
Tell us more about the job that you secured. Was it a contract role? Was it a permanent role?
Yeah, so it was a contract role. Yeah, so just like Shaz has said, even if I've been in an environment where you've got grads, you've got full-time, and you've got contractors, and you're all doing the same thing. So it's more or less just having that confidence to sort of say, I want to be a contractor, I want to work on different projects. So it's more of a mindset, like you mentioned. It's like when I speak to people, the first thing I tell them is all about confidence and, understanding that being a BA is about more of understanding what you've done in the past and being able to transfer that skills and just understanding the BA concepts, understanding the buzzwords and stuff, and you'll be fine, pretty much.
And would you say that you're earning more now compared to before?
Yeah, definitely. And to be honest, just like you mentioned, I applied for, like I said before, I wanted to do data. I applied for data roles, maybe 30K, 40K, didn't even get the job. Applied for full-time jobs, didn't get the job. And, I didn't even apply for the contract role. I was, messaged on LinkedIn and, just set up an interview and got the job, pretty much.
Same. So you did it at the back of LinkedIn. So was it a LinkedIn application you made, or did you message a recruiter? And
so just like with TLA, where you're advised to sort of create a persona. So that's the most important thing, creating a CV and a persona on LinkedIn of, what you want to be. Because obviously if you want to do contract, you have to create a persona of being a business analyst for at least 3 to 5 years. So once you do that, you're definitely going to get recruited. It's just a no-brainer. As long as you understand what a business analyst does, who you work with, developers, testers, stakeholders, SMEs. Once you understand just the concept of being a business analyst, I think you'll be fine. And like most business analysts, you learn on the job. It's not something that you can, it's different for everyone. Like if you speak to 20 BAs, they have different experiences because different projects, different organizations, everything is different. So it's more or less just, being able to jump into that ocean and not drowning, basically.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And the interviews, how many interviews would you say that you've had?
So I didn't have much, to be honest, because like you mentioned, I understood that you had to create that persona to get that role. So it wasn't about just, it was a process. You had to create, you had to do certain things to be in that position where you're confident enough to sort of think, oh, I deserve this job. So I applied to just two jobs, really, just two jobs. And the third one was the one where the recruiter actually reached out to me. And yeah.
Okay, so the first ever interview that you did, how did that go for you?
It wasn't great. Like, I didn't think I was going to get the job anyways. It was like an insight manager sort of job for like a fruit company. It was just more or less, let's just see how it goes. But it wasn't. And then the second one was a presentation. It went okay, but not so great. Not so great.
And for the job that you did manage to get, how did the interview go for that? What kind of questions did they ask you?
Well, to be honest, the only question they ask you when you apply for a contract role, I guess, is tell me about your last role. That's, no one's going to ask you what is Scrum or what is business analysis. It's more or less, tell me about your last role. And when you're speaking about your last role, you just have to mention the buzzwords of process mapping, working with stakeholders. You had daily stand-ups, you had to work with the QA and the devs. Once you just know how to play that story, you get the job, because it's more like law of demand and supply. Like there's so many roles and there's just no that there aren't any skill set. So the recruiters aren't that demanding. They just want someone that sort of understands the role and can, pick it up when they get there, basically.
Yeah, 100%. I completely agree. I really like one thing that you just said is about the whole thing to do with personas. It's a really good way to describe it. Is building that persona more than anything.
Yeah.
Once you've built that persona of what is an ideal BA, and then you press play on that persona.
Yeah.
Gonna get the job.
Yeah, you get the job. Like you mentioned, it's not as easy. Obviously there's a lot of commitment. So, like you mentioned,
There's a big confidence boost within yourself.
Sorry?
It's a massive hurdle of confidence that you have to find within yourself.
Yeah.
Play that part and be in that mindset of being that BA.
Yeah, definitely.
How did you do that?
Just like you said, as far as I'm concerned, I felt like you mentioned, like you go on LinkedIn, you check out senior BA, for example, and you just sort of look at the person's journey. And these guys have the job you want. So what you have to do is basically, so say, for example, I joined TLA like on the 6th of November last year. And then I did the 2 days in the weekend for the foundation certification. I did the certification, I think the following month. So I passed the certification. So that was one to the persona. And then I did the requirements engineering because I noticed that it was sort of like the core module for the diploma. So I did the requirements engineering and I did the business analysis practice. So I did all of that in December. And I got the job in December. So it's more or less like so having those certifications, having the transferable skills on your CV and LinkedIn, and understanding the buzzwords and the activities that BA does, your CV and LinkedIn, then you get the job. It's as simple as that.
100%. You've pretty much nailed it on the head. And when it got to the interview itself, how did you go about preparing for the interview?
So for the interview, to be honest, it was just more or less trying to be able to build stories around the roles of a BA, because most contract roles are pretty, tell me about your last role. So you have to just have that scenario of a project you've worked on. So say, for example, TLA, where, you worked on a business transformation project for a learning management system from, sort of like a legacy system to like a more modern system, to try to increase their revenue and stuff. And obviously the person interviewing you is probably in a different field. So it's not even going to know that much knowledge about learning management systems. So all you need to just play is the fact that, there were certain features and you had to, interview stakeholders and, just typical stuff that they want to hear, because that's basically it. You're applying for a BA role. They've got a BA slot with testers and developers waiting for you to join. So you just need to say you can fit into that setting, and that's it. You want to, so basically what you want to do is know every single thing. So you want to be in a position whereby if anyone speaks about a term, say for example, daily stand-up, you understand what it means. You don't necessarily need to have experienced it, but you need to know what it is. You hear, UAT, you need to know what it means. So that's what you get with TLA, where, you've been there. You might not have been literally on a project, but you get the feeling and the fact that you had team members and, you spoke about it, you understand the setting. So when you go into an interview, you speak that, and then that's it. And when you get the job, you're like, yeah, that's what we're speaking about. Oh, and it all seems big on, job description, stakeholders. Stakeholders are just, guys that you just call and they're like, oh, hello. It's no big deal. Director level and all of that stuff. They're just normal guys, So, job descriptions can seem scary and, you see like loads of stuff that you need to do and you're just going to do like 1%.
100%. When you really break it down, it's actually very easy. It's actually quite straightforward, but it just sounds complicated when you read it.
Yeah.
Back to self, so no, I completely understand and I get that. How many stages were there to the interview that you had?
It was just one interview. Just one interview. The video of the interview I wasn't even on. It was very casual.
That is insane.
Freaking very, very casual.
Wow. Okay. What would you say that you did differently for this specific interview in comparison to the other interviews that you've been to?
I think I was more confident. Obviously, I was more confident. I knew that I sort of created that persona where I knew that I could get the job, So it was more or less just having that confidence and sort of just going with the flow and not being, and also going into interviews with more like a chat mindset as opposed to being interviewed. So you're going in with like a chat. So you're just basically going into an interview talking about like what you learned at TLA, basically from a perspective of like you worked on projects. And I think that way and like I said, those recruiters, the hiring managers, I wouldn't say desperate, but they won't just hire anybody. But as long as you sort of tick certain boxes, you get the job, I think.
So a lot of people on this call, they're really struggling with their CV. What tip would you give for preparing your CV?
I think for CV, just like you mentioned, you're not going to write, say, for example, you work as a nurse, for example. You might write, say, for example, health analyst or something, where, you understand the healthcare sector. So say, for example, you're applying for an NHS business analyst job, you're going to get the job because you're not going to get the job you write in nurse. But if you write your health analyst and you sort of understand the sort of analysis that is done in the healthcare sector, then you get the job. So you just need to understand. So say, for example, when I was trying to map out the persona, I did a lot of like researching different people's LinkedIn, and a lot of business analysts come from, I worked at the call center, and then probably someone just messaged you and says, oh, do you want to be a BA? And you're like, okay, let me try it. And then you've been a BA for like 7 years now. So it's more of a role that is sort of like lacking, where you just sort of call the person that sort of has energy within your organization. And like, do you want to be BA? And you're like, okay, let me try it. So you have a lot of people working as call center, and then obviously if you're working on a CRM project, then you're an asset, because then you understand how CRM works and stuff. Or say, for example, you work in finance, say you work in a bank and you want to be a finance BA. You don't write you are a cashier, or, you write, say, for example, you are a finance analyst, or you just write something that has to do with like analysis of, sort of understanding people's problems and solving those problems, and that's basically it. You just need to understand the role of a BA and coin it into any previous experience you've done in the past. And, that's basically, because no one's going to hire you if you haven't got like 2 to 3 years. Back in the days, it was like five years. Now it's more like 1 year, 2 years, because they need people. So, they've reduced the sort of scare and they've made it more like, 2 years. So obviously you should be able to go through textbooks and go through like a training and be able to feel like you've done something for 2 years. And that's basically it. Once you can imagine doing it for 2 years, that's it.
And that's basically just you having normal admin experience. Normal admin experience, cashier experience, working at Aldo, working at McDonald's. Right? Yeah. You can use that and you can flip it. Like whatever the situation is, like you can use the skills that you have. Once you understand BA, then it's easy to use the terms of a BA within your existing role.
Yeah.
Talk about that. You can, and it's just that once you understand that process, and then you use the TLA experience on top, it just makes it so much more easy to solidify that.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's bang on what you did. What piece of advice, what's that one piece of advice you would give when it comes to mindset?
For mindset, it's just like Shaz has said, and that was one of the inspiration I had as well, was, you had a video where you emphasized on the fact that the amount paid it's more to do with attracting people with the mindsets, right? But it also is from the budget of the company. So you work for a big company, £500 per day is nothing to them, as long as you can get the job done, so it's more or less, like I mentioned also, like I understood that if you're a full-time BA, you're a grad BA or a contract BA, it's the same job, it's the same role. Obviously there's the security of, you get fired as a BA contractor and stuff, but it's all just talk. It never really happens. It's not going to happen. Like, you're not just going to get fired because, it's, you definitely learn on the job. As long as you're willing to learn, you would learn on the job. You have teammates that you can sort of lean on, so you wouldn't be alone. Like, you're not just going to be alone in a company. You go into a company and then there are also people you can tell that everyone's struggling, work on a project where you've got people with 20 years experience and you're just like, we're all the same, so that's basically it, for me. So mindset is more or less just understanding that the guys that have gone before you, the technology has changed, it's more agile, no longer waterfall. So we're all the same. The practice has changed a bit. So there's no one that's been there for too long. We're all sort of just getting started together, pretty much.
100%. You've hit the nail on the head. How long have you been in your existing role for now?
So about 4 to 5 months.
4 to 5 months. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And how are you finding? So talk me through then. So when you initially landed when you landed the role and your first month there, how did you find that?
Obviously it was strange. You're learning so many things. You're learning the tools, you're learning the actual skill sets. You're trying to understand how it fits from the practical you've done with the real world, and it's quite different. Like obviously, user story formats and stuff is quite different when you go to an organization and stuff. So for me, when I joined, it was more or less trying to get up to speed, trying to learn stuff, trying to fit in. You want to fit in as fast as possible, basically, and not look like a newbie. So you just need to pick up things quickly, so that was
there anything specific you did for that? How did you fit in fast? Like what was there any specific steps? Were you speaking to certain stakeholders, your management or the people that you're working alongside? Were you touching onto them a lot more?
Yeah, definitely. Like when you join an organization, obviously you there's always that person that is like the nice person, that sort of you just need to understand that sorry. So basically you just need to understand that when you join a new company, regardless of if you're a BA for 15 years, it's a new company and you need to catch up with that company. So so I sort of played the game of I joined the new company as opposed to, you're a new BA. So it's more like, oh, how do you guys do stuff here? Like, oh, can I get an example of a user story? What's the definition of a good user story? What's the definition of a good acceptance criteria? So it was more or less trying to understand how this company operates. Is it different? So that's it. So if, for example, in TLA, we did stuff, I'm trying to understand, what's the definition of correct? What's the standard here? And then when you have that conversation, then they're like, oh, check this documentation, check this. And then you learn from there.
That's bang on. Bang on. It's actually a really good way of turning it. Rather than thinking that you're just a new BA, it's a new company.
Yeah.
And starting from complete scratch. And just asking the basic questions to understand how the company works. What's the company specific format? Okay. Were there any problems that you faced during the first 2 months or so?
The problem I faced was I was given a technical piece of work, and it was quite different from what everyone on my team was working on. So let's say, people were working on more front-endy stuff, and then I was given some back-end stuff that was more technical, with APIs and stuff. And like I said, it's more or less just trying to understand. You just say, this stuff is technical, and you probably just, and they'll be like, yeah, we didn't think it through or something, and then you don't get to do it because you came in as a BA, like a digital BA. Doesn't mean you have to know all the technical stuff. So you just need to sort of understand when something is technical, and that's it. So that was like the main challenge I had.
How did you handle that?
So I obviously I told the lead BA, like I mentioned it to the lead BA and stuff, even if the work was still linked to me. So at the end of the day, I still did it. I still did it, but I made it clear that, I was struggling, and it's okay to say you're struggling. That's another thing. Like instead of just struggling, you make it known to the team that, this is a bit technical, and then you can get some support. So yeah.
Amazing. So were you leveraging other people's knowledge around you?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously we work with Confluence, which is like a collaborative tool. So you have access to like different stories, different documentations and stuff, and also you speak to your teammates and you're like, what's your approach to this? And, you share knowledge. So yeah.
So do you ever go on YouTube videos and stuff like that? So if you get stuck, or what's the step-by-step process for you when you get stuck? So would you say that you go to your teammates first, and then after that you go on YouTube, and then after that you go
Yeah, so it depends. Obviously, it depends. Obviously, like there were different random stuff, like even organizing like a meeting, not even BA stuff, but understanding how to book a meeting. You might never have experienced that before, or using Jira or using Confluence, creating a table on Confluence, adding a picture. These are the random stuff that you sort of just need to pick up, so you go into an interview and you say, oh yeah, you've used Confluence before by just watching a YouTube video. But then when you join the organization, you just need to pick it up. That's it. So like you mentioned, I do YouTube videos, I do books, I do, different stuff, just trying to find an answer basically.
Is there any specific resource that you've gone through which has really helped you with your knowledge?
So I guess it's just books. I invested a lot in the BCS because I noticed that it's sort of really recognized in the UK. So I did certifications. I bought a lot of books. I bought about 11 books from BCS. Different books regarding UAT, data migration, just the different topics that you see. So, trying to understand every buzzword from a practical extent. That was something I worked on, trying to, anything I hear, I have an idea. I might not know it in detail, but I have an idea. I could have that conversation, basically.
Okay. If you could pinpoint your success down to one thing, what would it be?
I would say on obsession. You have to be obsessed. You have to be obsessed. You have to see it. You need to be the person you want to be before you become the person you want to be. Basically, that's it. That's just basically it.
I used to do this quite a bit where whenever I close my eyes, I'd try to visualize. So I'd physically try to visualize, and I would try to imagine, okay, this is the place that I'm trying to get to, and then I'd keep trying to manifest it. I'd keep build it. Okay, I'm becoming that person. I'm visualizing myself that I am that person, and slowly, all the steps that I'm taking in my daily life is to eventually then become that person, because I'm thinking about it consistently. I'm doing these brain exercises of constantly trying to visualize it, so I become that person. But if that thought doesn't even enter your mind, then it kind of keeps you off track, and you don't know what you're striving for, what the goal is.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So
that's basically is basically it's an obsession, and obviously you sort of have to have a roadmap. So you know that you need to have some certifications. You're aspiring to get a diploma. You might not get it in 4 months, 5 months, but it's on your goal list. You want to have a CV that has 5 years experience, even if you don't have that experience. So you know that you need to keep gaining knowledge to have that 5 years experience in, say, 10 months. So that's basically it. You need to understand. So it's just understanding. And another thing I would like to share with people is, if you should try to lean towards an industry that you're comfortable with. I think it really helps. So say, for example, I was more interested in e-commerce, retail. So I wasn't going to go into healthcare or, telecommunication, for example, because I'll struggle with the BA side of things and the telecommunication side of things. But with e-commerce, you shop online, you understand what the journey is like. So, the conversations were more familiar. So it's something I would say. So if you work in a bank, you want to go finance BA, you work in call center, you want to do CRM, you work in hospital, you want to go healthcare, it really helps. You sort of have an advantage there.
It's a hell of a lot of sense what you're saying. With the knowledge that you have now, if you could go back to the start of this process, would there be anything that you would change?
Is there anything I'll change? I guess I would apply it earlier. Like I put myself out there earlier because, you could have made more money earlier, So I guess that's what I would have done, put yourself out there. But I guess, and another thing is you never feel ready. I don't still feel ready. You never feel ready because you would always see people who have been there for so long and you feel like you need to learn so many things. So you'd always feel like a newbie, like you always have to feel scared, but that's how you have to be basically if you want to stretch yourself.
100%. That's really good advice. On which part of the TLA program would you say that's helped you the most?
What helped me the most with the TLA program the most was the structure. So say, for example, I would have delayed on certifications. Once I did the foundation, I had the confidence to do the remaining certifications. And just the portal, I think I was obsessed with the portal, the fact that, you had to, and you had like the, analysis showing you like 60%, 50% stuff. So it made me feel like, if you could do this LinkedIn stuff, LinkedIn is done. If you could do the CV stuff, done. If you could do the project stuff, done. You did the foundation, done. So it was more or less like you had like a lot of goals within that portal that made you sort of committed and, motivated. So TLA was the package. Like I mentioned, like trust me, I've done about 4 trainings, but TLA is the one I refer people to because it's the most expensive, but I still refer people because it sort of shows you the 360 of being a BA as opposed to just, training and people saying, oh, certificate isn't important. Certificate isn't important. People say you get a job, but trust me, you will be considered earlier if you've got like a requirements engineering and business analyst practice because it just shows that you're more committed, and you definitely understand the basics of being a BA if you've done those certifications.
Yeah, and it shows like the more, it's bang on what you said, when you do certifications, it shows your loyalty and your commitment to mastering the craft.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what it shows. It's not different to what I said when it comes to like, when you're going for roles, when you're trying to progress for roles, you have to show your loyalty first. You have to give up front. You have to give up front first before you can ask and take it.
Yeah.
It's the equivalent to that. Like you got to master it. By doing certifications, more than anything, it shows and proves loyalty to your craft. Yeah. And shows that you're a master to it. And you combine that with experience, you've won.
Yeah,
definitely. Last question I want to ask you, and then we move on to a Q&A. What's that one piece of advice that you would give to everybody?
Piece of advice I'll give everyone is do it afraid. We're all afraid, trust me, like the team I'm on, trust me, I'm working with people in their 50s, I'm working with people in their 40s, 20 years experience, 25 years experience. Trust me, it's really scary, but they feel the same way too. Trust me, because even if they've been BAs for 25 years, 30 years, it wasn't at the same company, it wasn't the same project, it wasn't the same tools, it's different. And that's so it's all about the mindset. It's all about having that confidence. Like I mentioned, I've been on a project where you've got contracts, you've got full-time, you've got grad, and we're all doing the same thing. So it's no different, or contract or full-time or grad. It's what you think you deserve. I could easily have been a grad because that's what I should have been, but you're not going to learn more being a grad because you're just going to be given little stuff, but the same stuff. So why not just be what you want to be? Obviously different reasons you might want security, full-time is fine, but then like you said, don't go for the 40K because you think, oh, I'm 40K. You can go for 75K, 80K, 100K, because it's all dependent on the company's weight as opposed to what you're going to do. It's that's basically it. You want to attract people who have the mindset thinking, oh, I deserve this, as opposed to, I want to get 40K because I don't want to do much. But at the end of the day, trust me, you do more in the 40K job because, say, for example, you do UX wireframing. In a big company, you're not going to do that because there's a department for that. Or say, for example, you do data migration. In a big company, you're not going to do that because there's a department for that. So there's a team for every single subset of being a BA in a big company, as opposed to in a small company where you do everything. So the advice is being in a big company where you don't do as much, trust me. But you're exposed to everything because you see people doing it. Anyways.
There's more money and less work, is what you said.
Yeah, definitely.
Like you heard it, you guys have heard it from the horse's mouth. Like that's literally what it is. Like the higher up you go, it gets easier, it doesn't get any harder. So it's just having that confidence to apply for those high-end roles rather than just, thinking that you're only worth a certain amount and that you never strive to achieve those high-end roles. Okay, so guys, the rest of this call, we've got about 5-10 minutes left. So for this call, I want to open it up to Q&A. So if anybody has any questions, just drop it in the Q&A section and I'll shout them out and then we'll get those answered. From Anonymous, BA or PM, I cannot decide. Okay, guys, for those who are looking to go towards project management, I would 100% suggest that if you have some sort of management experience working in the banking, finance industry, and you've managed a team of 8 to 10, 15 people, then go towards project management. If you don't have that, 100% go towards being a business analyst. More jobs as a BA that pretty much get paid the same amount as a PM. PM, you have to be the first one there, last one out, right, generally. Then you also have the fact that if you've never managed a team of developers, you've never managed, or you don't know what people do on a project, it becomes very difficult to manage those different stakeholders, those different teams, if you don't know what they do, because they can pull a wool over your eyes and give you, insane timelines. But if you know what they're doing, ain't no one pulling any wool over your eyes, right? And you can question and you can challenge. That's what makes an effective project manager. And then you can, because ultimately the pressure is going to be on your head to do it within time, to do it within budget. But if you can't challenge, then that power kind of gets taken away from you. And so you're just an admin person, you're not really a proper project manager. So learn it as a BA where you're dealing with it, where there's slightly less pressure on you, learn that environment. And then if you want to go towards being a PM, then do it. But I feel that when you're in that environment, you're going to start working with solutions architects, product owners, scrum masters. Guys get paid way more than PM. So it's like, why would you want to be a PM? You can get so much more exposure to so many different areas. So I know some of you guys are probably in a situation where you don't know what you don't know, but go towards being a BA, learn that environment fully first, and then strive to being a PM. But if you've got loads of leadership experience and management experience, then 100% go towards being a project manager. Do what you're good at. I hope that answers the question. And next question from Asif: how to get experience without experience? Okay. Comes in different forms: charities, Transform Learning Academy, 3 months project experience. Do that experience, use that. Once you use that, that will allow you to open up the doors of getting a hell of a lot more experience. Corinne, flipping experience to BA. What about references if your ex-employer's reference doesn't match? That's never usually the case. Like, I know that's a big hoo-ha. That generally seems to be quite a big hoo-ha when it comes to referencing. So if you do flip it on your CV as a BA, will they come back and will they start saying that, you've been, you wasn't a BA? If you ever do come across that situation and you ever ask that question, the best thing to say is that, okay, you know what, I started off as X, Y, and Z, but then I later progressed to doing X, Y, and Z. That's it. But of the students that got BA roles, no one's generally being questioned on the referencing. That's never usually been an issue. That's like the least of your worries. The hardest part is just acquiring the knowledge. Acquire the knowledge first. The rest is the easy stuff. So referencing, don't even worry about that. How long? So for Christopher, so message for you. How long is your current contract?
Yeah, 6 months.
6 months. Smashed it. And what industry did you go into?
ECom. So it's a technology company, but e-commerce retail.
Smashed it. Okay. Anonymous, difference between the outcomes of the data analyst BI and BA roles. Okay, very, very brief overview, right? So with data analysis roles, one thing you need to understand is that with data analysis, your job is to transform raw data and to convert that into something that's more meaningful. So your job as a data business intelligence analyst is to extract data, cleanse that data, and then go about presenting that data to the management teams, who will then make key informed decisions on that data. Once they've made those decisions, that's when the project manager and the BA will get involved at that point to then help implement those changes in the business. So once pre-decision, the other is post-decision. I hope that answers the question. Corinne, answer that. Okay, Greg, are there any free or easy access training resources where I can improve my knowledge on Jira, Confluence, etc.? If you're looking for free material, the best free material generally is just YouTube. YouTube or Google is generally the best free material. But look, I spend probably close to about 15 to 20K a year just on my own self-learning. But then I always think that, okay, am I worth it? Like, if I'm trying to get the business to go beyond 3-4 million, right? Well, I can't spend 15-20 grand on myself to try to educate myself on new ways on trying to boost business. You get it? So like, if you're trying to get from like 30-40K to get to like 100K plus, what, are you not worth it? Like, well, you can't spend a grand or two on your own learning. You're trying to get there. You're trying to make a life-changing move, right? And you're scared to spend like a grand or two to invest in your learning. If you've got the if you've got the money, right, like that's what it's there for, to spend, to learn. And when you go for paid training, it just beats anything that you can get for free, because for free training, there's so much out there that there's lack of structure, and then you get caught in a web where you learn a bit of this, bit of that, which is good for probably early on in your career because you're getting a taste of everything. But the more focused you get, you need structured training, and that's what's going to help you see the big changes in your life. Question from Robin: is the training support always ongoing when you get the role, or do they expect you to know the stuff and get on with it? Okay. Question for Christopher: so is the training support always ongoing when you get the role, or do they expect you to know the stuff and get on with it?
It depends. So as far as I'm concerned, I won't call it training per se, but you've got existing documentation, you've got, things that can guide you. That's, it's not more or less training, but it's more or less, it was done, say, in 2017, have a look at this document. And you just need to sort of grasp that. That's basically it. So it's not more or less like, training. Obviously you get some training, but nothing, more like maybe Salesforce training or SAP Hybris training, not training as in like training, but sort of, this is just the functionality that we're, looking at. And this is how to create an order on Salesforce, or, just understand that journey, but not training like, oh, how to use Jira. Obviously you've got some training on how to use Jira, but no one's going to train you. It's just documentation is there, how to use it, or, that sort of stuff. But then again, it depends on the company. So obviously, the bigger the company, the more they'll have those resources, but smaller company will probably not have that.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's generally that's the whole point of the program, where you're getting that head start in the learning part. But then when you actually go into the company, they'll give you company-specific training. So if they have any specific systems or a set way of doing the documentation, their set order of ways, then that's essentially what you're going there to learn. But the structure of being a BA, the base of it, is generally the same from company to company. You're doing pretty much similar format. You have that one toolkit and you take it to every company, right? Yeah. But then it's just learning specific for that company. That's all it is. But Robin, just keep going to the portal. You're going to smash it. Next one, we have Anonymous. I have management experience with PMP certification, but I still feel BA is more exciting. What do you advise? If you find BA is more exciting, 100% do it. There's a hell of a lot more roles. Go on JobServe, type in business analyst, and go on JobServe, type in project management. See the difference in jobs. It's like 3-4 times more as a BA than you do for PM. You only need one project manager to manage a project. You don't need 10 of them. Whereas the BAs, you'll generally need a team of them. Less pressure, money's the same. Why would you enjoy it? It's a good work-life balance. Next question from Pierre. In permanent role for BA, how many stages of interviews do we have? And can you please tell me more about the rounds, what exactly it consists of? For permanent roles, it's usually, they'll have like 2-3 stage, 4-stage interviews. It usually starts off with basic knowledge checks as such, and then goes to competency interviews, and then interviews specifically with the director, the BAs, other BAs, or the BA lead or the project manager as such. And then they ask very, very specific questions. The more you go into it, it's like an onion, right? They're just peeling the layers off. The first, doing the initial due diligence checks to see that, do you even pass the basic knowledge checks? Why would they want to waste their time on you, right? So they'll try to filter you out by using you on a computer-based system, or maybe even doing a personality test. But then the later rounds, they'll go deeper and deeper and deeper into it. So it's quite straightforward. But if you follow the interview mastery module in the TLA portal, that has the bulk of the questions in there. Like, just master that. Greg, I was looking at the BCS BA courses. What's the difference between the foundation certificate and certificate? So you got the BCS foundation certificate, and then you got the practitioner as well. So it's like 4 or 5 different modules in there. Each cover a different area of business analysis. Get your first foot in the door, go for the foundation, and then later develop by doing other certifications and learning more tools. So learn those tools, those technical tools, because that will really help you with your understanding. And doing certifications, of course, because it helps show more loyalty to your career. Question from Greg: if I already have some experience in BA, is there a better suited course rather than the foundation aimed at complete beginners? See, Greg, you don't have to. If you already have some level of experience as a BA already, then for yourself, it's just a case of being able to secure better roles which pay more. That's pretty much it. But it depends when that experience was, how long ago it was, and everything else. Because if it was, say, a good few years ago, then 100% this course is best suited. If it's very recent, then for you, the best thing would be to just maybe the project experience. It's not more relevant, more in time, and then going for those really high-end roles. And that would probably be the best thing. That's what I would suggest. Pierre, I also wanted to know, do we use Jira, Cloud, and Confluence as BA? So Christopher, are you using any of those tools right now?
Yes. Yeah, so Confluence every day. That's like the go-to place. And yeah, Jira, obviously, when you want to create tickets and stuff, when you want to create epics and user stories, acceptance criteria. So yeah, so the PM, the BAs use that rather. And I guess the PMs as well. So the PMs create documents as well and stuff on Confluence. But I'm not very sure if they use Jira. I'm sure they do, but different function compared to what the BA use it for.
Perfect. Okay. Next question from Victor Jacobs. Okay, the difference between BA and business analysis. Also, when I first made the inquiry to TLA, I was told that I would be doing data BI, but was now advised to BA. 100%, it ultimately all depends on your experience. Have that chat with the career coach first. They know best, like what's best based on your current experiences, and they'll advise you accordingly. Next question from Andy. Did Christopher have any other BA experience beyond the TLA program?
So I didn't, because obviously I was working. I did another certification. I did another, training in parallel with TLA, but I wasn't feeling it. Like, obviously I wasn't feeling it as much when I heard about TLA. That's why I did TLA as well. So I basically did TLA back off someone mentioning that he got 2 roles, NHS and Rolls Royce, and he picked NHS. And it was TLA, and he hadn't been a BA like that. So I felt, I must do this course basically. So that's why I did TLA. So I hadn't done any course. Obviously I had a master's in it, but like, Shah said, it was more, that was more activity diagram days, and now things have changed. It's no longer that way. So yeah. So like during my business analysis master's, I never did anything about user stories. It was all use cases. It was all, the old stuff, sequence diagram and stuff.
Fair enough. Anonymous, which would you advise, BA or data analyst? It depends if you're a technical person. If you're a technical hands-on person, you like it, you like coding, you like, working by yourself, go for data analyst. If you're a type of person that likes to communicate, that likes people, 100% go for BA. I feel like with data analysis, right, because you're going to be using so many different tools, Excel, SQL, Power BI, Tableau, Python, all the sort of stuff, right? With data, I feel like you're either born into that sort of stuff or you're not. Like, you're born into like coding, you're born into like understanding computers and breaking them and fixing them. You're born into that stuff. You like that, doing that stuff. But if you like people more and you're not a techie guy as much, like it's not in your primary DNA, then go for BA, 100%. Pia, so Christopher, are you working in hybrid mode or working from office?
So it's 100% remote.
Nice. Smashed it. Are you going to go for a second contract?
Yeah, probably.
Smashed it. Okay. Last few questions. Where do you think you'll go after the contract ends? Contract is full time?
No, contract. So, obviously looking at the scheme of things is most likely going to be extended. Just like you mentioned, there's a gap. If you've got a BA, you don't want to lose a BA because there's a gap. There's so many projects. So, obviously, like from my colleagues, most of them have been at the company for, say, 3 times extended, 4 times extended. So it's, as long as you're to a certain standard, you definitely get extended. And you're in an organization where there's so many projects, so you're not going anywhere really, except you want to leave.
100%. Okay. And okay, so a bit of a cheeky question. Christopher, what did you secure the day rate?
Sorry?
Yeah, being asked on your day rate, you don't have to answer if you don't want to. All right.
Obviously, all I can just say is, obviously, if you calculate everything, it's 6 figures before tax, basically.
Before tax, that's insane. Freaking hell. Okay, you definitely smashed on that. How much were you doing prior to TLA? How much were you on?
Obviously, like I mentioned, I wasn't living in the UK, so it's not equivalent. Do you get what I mean? Obviously, I had a business, so I can't compare business and working. Yeah, it's quite different.
It's going to be different. Fair enough. A question from Pierre. If we go through only the practice questions, will that be sufficient to pass the BCS certification? Practice questions, go through the actual book itself and then go through the videos. Don't just rely on only the practice questions. Use that as verification of your knowledge, but go through the book and also go through the videos as well. Don't be lazy, Pierre. I know what you're trying to do. Don't be lazy. Andy, I was looking at your LinkedIn and there was BA roles on there. Did you manipulate it to incorporate the persona?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, it's about obviously, like I'm not gonna lie to you, I've been involved with e-commerce. Like I like e-commerce. So it's more or less like Shaz has a business and he's got like a website. He might not be a BA, but he's been involved in that process of building a website. He's been involved in maybe, say for example, in the future you want to have an app. So I've been involved with like iOS apps, Apple apps, websites, maybe moving from just like Excel to like Sage or SAP Business One. So those are the sort of activities that BAs are involved with. So like I mentioned, like back home, I was more involved as a business owner, general manager, but I was involved in these activities like, we want to change our process. So say, for example, you've got like a sales business and, you want to, strategically change like your sales members sort of strategy and how they sell. So you want to say, okay, you guys are going to sell in this region or blah, blah, blah. It's the same thing. It's analyzing stuff to make things better. So so all of this stuff are done. Like I mentioned, the main thing you want to do is just ensure that you've got more business analysis stuff with regards to your roles. That's the main thing, because no one's going to hire you as a contractor if you're saying, oh, you've been an intern somewhere, or no, not really.
Yes. I completely agree with it. Like I said, Andy, like you got to be it, you got to play the persona, right? And then you will become that person. But if you're always trying to aspire to be it, it's very, very difficult to try and be that person. Like, why would they want to invest like hundreds of £1,000s into you when they can do it with pay that to someone else who has experience? Why would it doesn't make any sense?
Yeah, and that's the thing, because even if you're in an interview and they feel like he needs a bit of brushing up, it's still based on the fact that he's got that experience. So you just have to, because you need to think about this stuff as it's not about how long you've been something, is you understanding the concept of something. So what's a typical example? You can cook stuff. Like say, for example, you can bake a cake, for example. You learned how to bake a cake today and you're really good at baking a cake and it's nice. So even if someone has been baking for 20 years, there's no difference. You can bake a cake and you can serve it and it's going to be nice. It's the same thing. So you can learn that in 1 week and be better than someone who's been doing it for 20 years. But no one's going to trust you to serve cake at the party if you say you learned it for 1 week. That's it.
Unless you show samples of your work. If you show a sample of your cake, instead of to eat it. But yeah, no, I get your point. It just increases the chances, but it's that. You got to show the experience for it. And you can use your existing experiences and you can leverage that, and just knowing how to leverage that more than anything. Another question from Greg. Christopher, what was yours? No, was yours a LinkedIn application or an application using your CV through a website?
So it was LinkedIn. I got a message from a recruiter on LinkedIn. I guess that's the easiest way, to be honest, because I guess back in the days, it was more or less going on JobServe and stuff. But now I think if you've got like a strong keyworded LinkedIn, like I said, with the buzzwords and, Agile and Scrum and all of those stuff, you come up with that like hard search. So you go a lot of hard search, say, hello, sorry for messaging you. And you get like 10 every day, so it's up to you, so that was the process. So someone just messaged me, hello, this role, this company, this rate, work from home, that sort of stuff, and some job spec, and that's it. Give me a call. That was it.
I'm just going to the chat section now. I can see there's a few questions in here. Christopher, I know we've gone past 9 p.m. So if you want to leave, by all means, that's not a problem. I'm going to continue to answer some of the questions in the chat section. Do you want to stay, or do you want to go?
Yeah, I can stay. It's fine.
Fine. Okay. Okay. Question from Daniel. So I can see some comments, which is really, really good. It's really heartwarming and nice to read these comments. Alessa said, best session I've witnessed so far. Every word that I hear today is the bomb. So that's really, really good to hear. Thanks to Christopher, of course.
Thanks.
Okay, question from Daniel Tutumanu. What's the cost of the training program? So the cost, look, ultimately for us, like it all varies. It's all based on your current experience and skill set. Because we tend to try to tailor it according to where you're at. Because if you already have some sort of experience, but you're just trying to get that job, we'll tailor it accordingly. You won't need the first two parts. You don't even need the last part for that. So it varies between £800 all the way to like $3,500. It just depends. But what I would suggest is book a call with a career coach on our team, and they will be able to talk you through how it all works, step by step, based on your existing experiences. I've just dropped a link in the chat section now, so you can feel free to book a call in with the career coaching team, and they'll talk you through how it all works and what's going to be best for you to get the result you're after. Next section, the next question that I've been asked is from Kelechi. I work in the education sector, but can't seem to find many BA roles in this sector. What is your take on this?
Can I answer that? It all just depends, So say, for example, I've got jobs from, say, publishing. I know there's a lot of BA roles in publishing, which is quite similar to education, so it just depends, so like, and obviously you've got BAs at unis as well. So say, for example, like London Business School, those guys also need BAs, obviously the only difference is you might have to go in because I know like education is more like, you need to come in and stuff. But I've seen jobs for like universities,
not for universities,
changing their systems and stuff. So there are definitely jobs for educational sector. And I know there's a lot for publishing.
100%. I know with some universities, they usually advertise it on their own website. Not all universities go and they're posting on JobServe and stuff. So it's definitely worth checking some university sites as well. But they do definitely, for education specifically, you got some training companies that do it, but then you also have a lot of education companies that hire for BAs as well. But look, if you have education experience, like working in the education sector, don't feel like you're only restricted to working in education. Like I can remember when my contract with Deloitte was over, right? it was very difficult for me to want to make that switch from working from within Deloitte to wanting to reach out and, you know, either do my own thing or go for work for another company. It's very, very difficult, especially when you've been in a place that's treated you so well for so long. You can't see anything else outside of that. Naturally, it's very difficult. It clouds your judgment. But I'm telling you now, like, the world is massive. There's so many companies. There's so much you can learn. Honestly, one small company, like Deloitte's only one company. There's one frigging company. There's millions of companies out there, right, that are willing to pay you a hell of a lot of money for the skill set that you have. Like, don't restrict yourself and think that, okay, I want to learn education. This is all I know. What if, you know, I'm not able to do it in finance? What if I don't enjoy finance? Or what if I don't enjoy banking or investment banking, whatever it is? But you just got to try it. You got to take the plunge and go for BA roles in those sectors, and you'll see, like, it's not that different. BA roles generally, regardless of where you go, is quite similar wherever you are, because the skill set is very, very similar. You're just going there to organize your toolkit, and you apply your toolkit to that workplace. Like, it's very, very similar. It's not too different industry to industry. It's more to do with company to company. That's the only difference. Okay. Boncola, thanks for the interview. Unemployed for the past 3 years. Where do I start from? Easy answer, join TLA first. Do a 3-month internship. That will be a good starting point. But then the rest is just knowing how to master your CV, knowing how to fill any gaps up by aligning it with charities, aligning it with anything else you're doing, any side projects. Question from Greg. Christopher, do you mind if I connect on LinkedIn?
Yeah, sure, no problem.
Smashed it. Guys, definitely reach out to Christopher Olukoya on LinkedIn. Just type in the search bar and feel free to connect with him. Question from Mercy. Where do we find the BA webinar recordings from before the webinar? I'd like to rewatch them. So for anybody that's joined the 2-day live webinar, you would have been sent an email the following day with the recording link. Chini, is it possible to change the dates on our work experience? No, I'll suggest to keep as is. That's amazing. Work for software is much better documentation. Thanks for the interview. Unemployed. And a few of my friends who say that they do earn second job as well along with a permanent role. Is it really possible? Pia, 100%. It's very, very possible to do 2 contracts together, or have a perm role and have a contract role. There's some students that what's the name now? The cash. One of the students that we have, he's on an 80k perm role, then he's got a £550 per day contract at the same time. But then you got also those at Harris who's gone for 2 contracts, and he's now on £900 per day. So you've got £500 per day, and then you've got £450 per day. So it's £400 a day. It's very, very possible to do that. Really enjoyed the call today. Thank you. Hello, Shaz. Where can we find the link to your last CV coaching call for Thursday last week? Lastly, you can find it on every platform. So whether you check on my LinkedIn post feed, or whether it's in the career switching community, or it's even on my Facebook, my personal profile, Shazad Shafiq. You'll be able to see it there. Question from Andy: Are there many BA jobs within the engineering sector? I've not seen many within the engineering sector. Christopher, have you seen many in the engineering sector, BA jobs?
Yeah, like, it depends. Obviously, like I said, like, I work for a company that is like core engineering, you know, but obviously, like, they sell what they engineer on their website and through CRM. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I get that. Okay, so it's definitely another way, right, is to do like the Dream 10 strategy. The Dream 10 is, look, if you write down the 10 companies that you want to work for within the engineering sector, and then reach out to all 10 companies, right? Well, in the form of LinkedIn, going for the hiring manager, whether it's the case of going on the website, seeing if they got any job postings, giving them a call, do that kind of work, and you'll be surprised at the results that you get at the back of that. Last couple of questions. Will people ask for references for your last job or the last few years? I come from a social work background and they check 5 years of references. So yeah, generally they do check references and stuff. But that's like the least of your worries. Like when anything to do with referencing, don't even worry about it. Like that's quite straightforward and easy to sort out. The main thing is like acquiring the knowledge and getting that job. That's the hard part. The easy referencing is like the easiest part. Okay. On a final note, guys, I really appreciate you guys joining me on the call today. Thank you for attending the workshop. For anybody who is looking to become a business analyst or project manager, then I've dropped a link in the chat section to book an application call with our team who will run you through how our program works and if you fit our criteria, and we'll be happily to get you on board and get you the results you're after. So until next time, my name is Shafiq and I look forward to seeing you guys on the next workshop. So guys, we are going to be doing this every 2 weeks, so I really look forward to it. Christopher, I really appreciate your time joining us, sharing your valuable knowledge. It's been absolutely insane having you on, and I really appreciate it. Thank you for joining us. And until next time, guys, I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Thank you, guys. Thanks, Chris.
Take care. All right, bye.